Hey guys, it's Chloe. Welcome back or welcome to my channel. Today I installed one of my favorite things to date on my truck. Well, I say that about every single mod pretty much, but I swear this one is really cool. If you can't tell by the title already, I installed the anytime camera on my Toyota Tacoma. So some 2020 and up Tacomas from the factory have the option of already having the front facing camera, but if you're like me and have a 2019 Tacoma, which is this truck, or older, you don't even have that option. There is no front-facing camera 2019 and prior. So basically what I've done is added a front camera to my Grille over here, and the kit that this came in basically allows me to switch between the front and rear camera anytime, which I previously couldn't do based on the stock configuration of my truck, which is really cool, and hence the name anytime camera. For me, this modification is going to be really great for the trails. It's gonna help me out for some little things like maybe pulling into the garage or maybe even pulling into some tight spots. So I'll show you a demonstration of how all of this works in a minute, but if your Tacoma is lacking this front-facing camera and you're looking to do something similar, you can get everything you need to get this done on your Tacoma from Ronin Factory. That is where my kit is from, so I'll have a link in the description down below to their website. But you guys should also know, and maybe you already do, they have an awesome YouTube channel, Ronin Factory. They post some really great Tacoma videos, and they have a couple extra videos about this specific mod, the anytime camera. So anyways, all that's gonna be linked down below, but now let's just get into this mod. Oops, I didn't see you guys down there, but now that I'm down here and I have you, I know you guys just saw a quick sneak peek of this mod, but before I show you the full thing, I wanted to talk about a huge truck giveaway that's going on real quick, and it's ending this week. Ronin Factory is giving away a wide body, completely built up Ford Raptor plus $20,000 in cash. And you guys who regularly watch my channel might already know the deal on how to win this truck plus the cash. Basically, all you have to do is head over to Ronin Factory's website where you can shop from anything from truck accessories to apparel to dog merch and even coffee. For anything that you purchase on the website, you'll automatically be entered to win the truck in cash. Now for this specific giveaway, we only have a couple of days left, so Ronin Factory is giving away 5 times the amount of entries that they normally give for anything that you buy. And if you're not interested for whatever reason on winning a truck plus $20,000 in cash, this week only you can enter to win a year of free gas. Yes, an entire year. This is like a bonus prize, and you can only get entries to win free gas for a year this week. One of the big reasons I like working here on YouTube with Ronin Factory, besides the fact that they're really fun, is that they give back so much. They've raised $2.5 million for charities like Wounded Warrior Project, Freedom Service Dogs of America, and Meals on Wheels, which is the charity that they've partnered with for this specific giveaway. So to enter to win, definitely check out the link in the description down below. Again, we only have a few days left for this giveaway, and I'm hoping one of my subscribers this time wins the truck. But anyways, good luck, and now let me show you how this anytime camera works in my truck. Okay, so the way this mod works is you turn the ignition on, so I'm just gonna tap this twice. My head unit pops up as it normally would, and then over on the side, I've wired up this front and rear camera switch. Now, I know this kind of looks funky. This little switch panel has a ton of open holes. I explain why in the installation part of this video, but basically I'm planning on putting more accessories and wiring more stuff up, so I'm leaving these empty for now, even though it looks kind of strange. And I talk more about this Miso Customs switch panel later on in the video, but right now we're just focusing on the camera. So I have this switch, and basically it's wired up to allow me to activate the front or rear camera anytime. So if I hit the front, and keep in mind right now I'm in park, you can see we get a front view of the camera. Now if I hit the rear, we have a view of the stock rear camera, which is awesome. Now what's also great is that when I get out of park and put the truck in reverse, sorry for all the beeping, but you can see that the reverse camera comes on, and I can press the front part of my switch, and even though we're in reverse, we get a view of the front. So let me take it out of reverse. So yeah, now anytime I want, I can switch to the front or the rear view. So this is my front camera view, and if you're wondering what these two bars are, this is my front bull bar. I had to do quite a bit of adjusting to see exactly how I wanted it, and yes, while this might annoy some people, if we switch to the rear, if you've ever noticed, the rear bumper covers quite a bit of the rear screen. So switching back to the front, for me, the bull bar is not really an issue. I'm pretty sure I like this exact mounting point, but I have the camera mounted on temporarily just with some adhesive right now. But when I finally make up my mind and decide that yes, this is a good spot, I like this mounting location, I'll actually probably drill a hole in my grill or do something more permanent so that the camera won't fall off. What I like about this view is that if you can see from the driver's seat out here into my garage, this is basically the view I have based on my height. Now, if I was taller, maybe I could see a little bit more, but you can see I can barely see the tops of my washer and dryer. There's a bucket on the ground that I can't even see, and there's a poster on this side of the wall that I can't see out of my regular view. But through the camera, I can see the entire washer and dryer from the floor to the top of it. I can see that bucket I was talking about that I couldn't see, and I can see this extra poster because of the wide angle view of this front camera. So yes, this is showing me a lot of what I can't normally see. Something I do not like about the 3rd gen Tacoma is that the hood is huge. So for off-roading, it's really difficult to see your cornering, and having a camera view like this just allows you to see a little bit more. Obviously, you don't want to rely on it, but again, you could see a lot more with this camera. So the compatibility for this mod is going to be for 2014 and newer Tacomas, and I also believe that this mod will work for 4Runners, although I'm not sure on the years for those. But do keep in mind that not every single Tacoma has the same head unit. So 2014 to 2019 has the same head unit, but 2020 and up has a new head unit. If you watch to the install part of this video, you'll know that the head unit is critical to all of this. So if you decide to get this kit, double check your year to make sure the kit is compatible with your truck. In terms of the install on this thing, I filmed my entire install so you guys can get an idea of what it's like, and Ronin Factory's video also filmed the entire install. But I think in terms of difficulty, this is like a medium level. It took me a couple of hours, but maybe you work fast and could get this done in 2 hours. For my specific application, since I wanted to wire up the switch on the left of the steering wheel, which is a little bit further away, I had to extend my wires and do a little bit of soldering. So for you, there might possibly be some of that involved as well. Last note before this install, mounting the camera itself to the grill can be a little bit challenging. Like I said, I kind of have it temporarily here with adhesive because I'm not 100% sure if I want it there. You might have to drill a hole in your grill. You also have to keep in mind for some of the newer Tacomas that have this front garnish, or basically this front sensor, that you probably don't want to block it. And then I know every Tacoma grill isn't quite the same. So just keep all of that in mind, and you might have to get a little bit creative to figure out exactly how you want this mounted. But anyways, with all that being said, I still think this was a fun install, so let me show you guys how I did it. Alright, so let's get into everything that comes in the Anytime camera kit. Now, the best place to get this is Ronin Factory. This is where my kit came from, but do keep in mind that I'm showing you here the kit that you're gonna get for 2014 to 2019 Tacomas. If you get the 2020 and up kit, you might have slightly different components because those trucks are different. Now, I also have a couple other accessories that I specifically need for my truck, which I'll explain in a minute. But to start out with the Anytime camera kit that you get from Ronin Factory, first off, you get this 28-pin override harness. Now, this is going to plug into the back of your head unit. You also get a 24-pin video harness. This is also going to plug into the back of your head unit. And you're going to connect this harness to your relay. You're also gonna get a wiring harness for your camera, and then your camera itself. Now, in my case, I have the premium camera. I believe there's a drop down on the Ronin Factory's website where you can select the type of camera you want, and the quality on this premium camera is going to be a little bit better. You also get a couple of different options to mount your camera, including some 3M adhesive mounts and a nut over here. And then what you're also gonna get is a little switch for your camera. This is a small style OEM switch that, as you probably saw before, we can use to control the rear and front camera. And then it also came with this harness that's going to plug into the back of it. Now that's everything that comes in the Anytime camera kit that you can pick up again from Ronin for Tacos, but I do have some additional things here. First up, I have the switch panel. Now this is made by Miso Customs, but you can pick it up on the Ronin for Tacos website as well. And the reason I have this is because I actually don't have any small style switch blanks to add this Anytime camera switch currently in my truck. So this panel that Miso Customs makes gives me a lot of extra spaces where I can put small style switches to wire up all my other accessories. So in my case, this piece in my truck right now just kind of has a little cubby cutout. So we're gonna replace it with this Miso Customs piece. And then lastly, I have the small OEM style switch blank. Now I got this from Cali Raised LED. I'll also have a link in the description to this down below. And by the way, I have a discount code you can use for Cali Raised LED. They've got a lot of really great accessories for lighting and switches and stuff like that. So that's where this blank is from. And this is going to be used to cover up some of the open holes on my Miso Customs panel. Now, the reason I only have one right now is because I plan on putting some other accessories like bumper lights and a couple of LEDs in my decked drawer system. So I'm keeping some spots open for that. But in the near term future, I don't anticipate using all of the holes. So I want to cover it up with one of these blanks. Now, in addition to some basic tools you'll need to complete this install at home, there are a couple other things that I'm going to probably be using. One thing that I know I'm gonna have to use is this little add-a-fuse. Now, I don't have a fuse block yet, although I would like to, and I'm going to eventually get that because I have a lot of accessories, like I said before. So for now, I'm gonna tap into my fuse box, so we're going to need this outer circuit. Now, additionally, because I'm adding my switch a little far away from some of the other wiring harnesses, I'm going to need to extend my wires. So I have some extra wire over here. And then to connect them, I have my soldering iron out. I'm not 100% sure if that's what I'm gonna go with because I also have these butt connectors, and then I picked these up from Tractor Supply Company. They're these male and female disconnects, so I might end up using these instead. But basically you can use whatever you have or whatever you like to splice your wires together. And then lastly, I have these ring terminals for my ground wires. All right, so for step one, we're gonna do all of our wiring, and I decided to do it all outside of my truck because honestly, the lighting was a lot better for me to show you guys here on my toolbox rather than the dark interior of my truck, and also I have a much larger workspace. So I made this diagram that I'm going to be following because honestly, I'm a visual person and it's easier for me to wire things up correctly when I can see it based on a diagram, and also grouping different things together, like what harnesses go behind the head unit and what harnesses go outside of the truck. It makes it easier for me to see how long I need to make these wires or how long I need to extend my wires. The kit doesn't come with a diagram, which is why I made this up myself, and I'll have it up here on the screen if you want to screenshot it and maybe use it as reference. But again, let me just say, I made this myself, so it's not official. And again, my Tacoma is a 2019 TRD Off-Road, so your application might be a little bit different and this diagram may not be accurate for your Tacoma. But anyways, I hope this helps if any of you need it, and I'm gonna get to start wiring. Alright, so here is all the wiring I did. Basically, I have my 24-pin video harness connected to this relay, and there's a male and female RCA connector, and the only thing I don't have plugged in on the relay end is this RCA connector that's marked black because this is where our camera's wiring harness is going to get plugged into, so I don't have that right now. This black marked female RCA cable you'll hear me talk about was supposed to plug into the camera harness, like I said, but later you'll see me find out that that's not the case because you'll end up wiring your rear camera as your front and your front camera as your rear. So if that happens, you just need to switch your RCA connectors around, and I'll show you how to fix that later in this video when I encounter that problem. And then on our relay end of things, I have our green wire soldered together with some heat shrink on it to our switch, and the switch wiring harness is just this giant thing. I have the wires zip tied together for now. I spliced together the ground wire from the switch and the ground wire on the relay. From the override harness, I connected the red and orange wires to our long switch wires. And then as you can see, I have everything all soldered up and heat shrunk together. Again, basically to wire everything up, I used my little diagram I made, which I got from watching the Ronin Factory's video on how they installed it. Anyways, I soldered everything because I wasn't able to use my male and female terminators to connect my wires together. The wires I used to extend the switch harness were 14 gauge, but the wires on the switch themselves were 20 gauge, so my terminal connectors didn't work with that. So soldering them and heat shrinking them together was just fine. So now I think this is all ready to go in the truck. The first thing we're gonna do in the truck is remove this dash piece. So what you're gonna wanna do is get a plastic trim removal tool or a tool like this and wedge it kind of underneath this charcoal gray piece or this surround, and just kind of work your way around and you'll feel the dash pop up. And then it should just come straight out. Then we're gonna pull our head unit out, so there's a 10mm bolt on each corner. So there's one here, and then two on this side. All right, so then your entire head unit should be able to easily come out. And I'm gonna rest mine on my shift knob over here. So I have all my wires over here, and again, this is the end for the switch, and what I did off camera was I taped off my blue and gray wires since I wasn't gonna use them. But basically, since I wanna keep these harnesses behind the head unit since that's where they're gonna plug into, and I want this portion over on my little switch panel side over here, I'm going to have to feed this end, or all this wire, behind the head unit, behind the steering wheel to this general area until I'm ready to wire up the switch. So I'm just gonna start by feeding my switch end behind here. There it is. With our switch wires fed through the dash, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually make this ground connection for both the relay and the switch. And there is a 10mm bolt right here that I'm going to remove and attach my ring terminal to for ground. And then I'm going to mount my relay on this side. So there's the 10mm bolt on the left side. So I secured my ground ring terminal on that 10mm bolt, and then way down there, it's really hard to tell, but you can see the green wire coming out of it. I was able to secure the relay in place down there. Next, we're going to remove this 28-pin wiring harness from our head unit, so it's on the left side. Then we're gonna take the male end of the Anytime camera 28-pin wiring harness and plug that in to our factory one, and then we're going to plug the other end into our head unit. And then we're going to do the exact same thing for our 24-pin wiring harness. So that one is more on the right side over here. Now that we've connected all of our harnesses on the back of the head unit, we connected our ground, secured our relay. The only connection we have left to make behind this head unit area is this RCA one with the black marking. And basically, we're going to pop the hood right now and work on the camera's wiring side of things to eventually feed it through the firewall and then back through here so that we can make this last connection. Alright, so now I've taken my long camera wiring harness, and you're going to have two of these wires. You're going to have a red and a black one, and red is going to be used to power your camera. Now, it's much safer to go through the fuse box rather than directly through the battery, so that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to need to put an add a fuse on this red wire. So I'm going to head over to my toolbox to do that, but we're also going to need to connect this black wire to the chassis, or ground basically. So I'm going to get another one of those ring terminals and connect it to this end of the wire so that we can ground this. Alright, so now I've got my add a fuse connected to my wiring harness, and I also made up my ring terminal, which I connected to the ground wire. But anyways, I've got my 10 amp fuses, and what we're going to want to tap into in our fuse box is this 10 amp EFI number 1. So you can take these little pliers, and this is the EFI number 1. Take that out, stick our add a fuse in. Next, I want to feed my wire cleanly out of the fuse box. So what I'm going to do is there's a tab at this corner over here, and I'm going to pull it towards me, and at the same time I'm going to use my other hand to push up the block. So you can kind of see this bundle of wires come up, and then next I'm going to pull this piece away from this piece, kind of open them like that. And then once I separate those apart, that's going to give me room to run my wire outside of the fuse box really cleanly. I know that was a little bit tricky to see, but now you can see we have our add a fuse running out of the fuse box, just like all of these other wire bundles. And now we can put the cover on. Now I'm going to connect our ground terminal to the chassis over here. Now that the power and ground are both connected, we're going to end up with two ends to this wiring harness. We're going to end up with this black connector, which we're going to have to feed towards the grill, and then this RCA end, which we're going to have to feed through the firewall. Now, I'm going to feed this towards the grill just so it's out of the way, and then we'll deal with this end. Now I'm going to feed this through the firewall, so you're going to need to create a hole if you haven't already down there. Now if you could see where this red wire is coming out, I already have a hole from running these wires for my ARB air compressor. So I'm going to try to see if I can fit this through the existing hole. So now if we take a look in the cab, I can pull this back and you can actually see I was able to get it through the firewall. So now we're going to basically feed it up and around to the dash. Got it through. Now you guys, I decided that before I put everything back into place, while I have all the wires out, I should test my system. And good thing I did, because I made one crucial mistake. So I actually hooked up the front of the camera, which was really easy, and it's just sitting on the floor of my garage. So my problem was when I turned the ignition on, and then I would hit the front camera switch, it would give me a view of my rear. And then when I hit the rear, it would give me a view of the front camera. So basically the mistake I made was the male end coming from the front camera needs to plug into the female end coming out of the relay, and the male end coming out of the 24-pin connector, which is the rear camera, needs to plug into the other female end coming out of the relay, which is actually the one that's marked black. So I got this wrong in the beginning, but now as you can see, the front shows the front and the rear shows the rear. And then previously when these were wired backward and I turned the truck on, put it in reverse, it would also show the front cameras. So evidently I knew my problem was with mismatched RCA cables. So do I feel dumb? Yes. But at the same time, I'm glad I checked at this stage. Now we can actually put everything together and hopefully be more confident that everything will work. Now I'm going to be removing this side cubby. So it's pretty easy to do. You just take a pry tool and start prying around the edges. And eventually, if you just kind of work your way around slowly, you'll be able to pop the whole thing out. Now I'm going to mount the harnesses for each of the switches. And in my case, there's only 3. And then I'm going to actually take off these switches from this panel so that I can transfer them on this new one. This one was a little bit harder because it had kind of 2 tabs on the side, but I used a plastic trim tool to help me out. Then here's my blank from Cali Ray's LED. I'm gonna put it at the end here. And then I'm choosing to put my anytime camera switch in this spot right here. Just personal preference. And then while it would make sense to put blanks in for the rest of these 4 switches, again, I'm leaving them open because I plan to wire up more accessories. When I think I'm done, if I have any extra spaces, I'll fill them with more blanks from Cali Ray's LED. So the other thing I'm doing is feeding the harness for the anytime camera switch through to over here. And then since I have some excess wiring, I'm just going to tape it. All right, so now we can start plugging our wiring harnesses back in. And we can pop this new panel in. So the last thing I'm gonna do besides cleaning up some of the wiring under the hood is actually mounting the front camera. Now, I think this will be a little interesting because you are supposed to drill to mount this properly, but I wanna see if I can just mount it with some 3M adhesive. Now, I do realize that that might not be the best idea, but I'm all for trying it out until we need to drill a hole. And in my case, I have a little bit of a specific problem because I have this low profile bull bar here, and I can see if I mount the camera flush underneath the garnish, which is what I was thinking originally, there's a chance the bull bar might be in the way. So I'm just gonna play around, put this where I think it'll go best, turn the truck on, see what it looks like, and go from there. So some of the last things I did were cleaning up some of the wiring under the hood. I also cut the thin white wire loop on the anytime camera, and depending on how you orient it, you can cut the other wires, but in my case, I just needed to cut the white. And I mounted the camera just with the 3M adhesive that it came with because I was kind of being indecisive about it. Let me show you what the view looks like with the front camera. So over here on my switch, here is the view I'm getting. Now, yes, I'm fully aware that the bull bar is taking up the bottom portion of the camera, and it's not 100% completely in the middle. I think I might have been slightly off on one side just because you can see that the bull bar isn't 100% even, although I think it's pretty close. So that is it. Let me know what you guys think of this modification. I think it's gonna be so useful for me, and I'm glad I have it installed on my Tacoma. Again, definitely check out Ronin for Tacos, both their website and their YouTube channel. And if you have any questions about this mod, definitely leave me a comment down below. If you want to connect more with me, I have an Instagram. It is at ChloeKuoTaco. I post more in real time on there, but that is all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.